Hello and welcome here to Talk FCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. Another video coming up for you today, and today's video is a bit different from what it usually is. This one has been pre-recorded because as you're watching this I am travelling, so what I thought we would do is record something and give it to you then to watch while you wait for me to arrive, and the videos will be continuing as normal very soon indeed. But today we are going to be looking into former Barcelona youth players and where they are now. Where has their career taken them? What kind of journeys have they gone down? And I've tried to pick very interesting players. Obviously we all know about Fabregas, we know about Pedro, we know about those kind of guys, but I've tried to pick out some more interesting tales for you guys. For instance, like BOJAN, his emotional journey, his physical journey through his time with Barcelona and where he is now. So lots of things like that coming up. If you did enjoy this video, guys, please do give it a like. I don't usually do this, but I just want to know at the end if you like it, if you want this to become a series. It can be, because obviously there are a lot more players that I could include and do in future videos if this is something that you enjoy. So please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below once you've seen the video, and hopefully you will leave this video having learned at least one thing that you didn't know when you arrived. I'll see you soon, guys. Enjoy the video. Let's do this. So the first player that we are going to discuss today, guys, is PEPE REINA, and he is certainly a goalkeeper that over many years now that he's been in professional football at the very top level, he has become a household name and has certainly enjoyed a long and illustrious career since he left Barcelona back in 2002. He's won the World Cup with Spain, he's had European successes as well with the international team, but he originally graduated through the Barcelona Youth Academy after joining up when he was just 6 years old back in 1988. You heard that correctly. REINA joined Barcelona, the youth setup, in 1988. He then went on to make 49 appearances in total for the first team. Before then he left to join Villarreal, after which he joined Liverpool under Rafa Benitez, where he stayed for the longest period of his career, making 395 appearances in total for Liverpool. There was then a loan spell at Napoli, followed by a very short stint as well at Bayern Munich under Pep Guardiola, before eventually he did join Napoli permanently in 2015, where he stayed until this summer when he ended up joining AC Milan on a free transfer after his contract at Napoli had expired. So REINA starting out at Barca a long time ago, and since then he really has become a polished professional, playing in several different leagues and being very successful indeed. Next on the list is Alex Grimaldo, who I think I'm right in saying here is one of the most frustrating Barcelona B exits in recent times. Of all the players that's gone, of all the players who've left the club of their own will, I think Grimaldo is the one that hurts the most, because I think we all feel like genuinely right now he could be in our team, making an impact, pushing Jordi Alba in that left back slot. And he actually started his youth career at Valencia, but then joined the Barcelona setup back in 2008. He then made his Barcelona B debut back in 2011. When he made his Barça B debut, he was just 15 years old and 349 days, therefore becoming the youngest player ever to appear in a Segunda Division game, and he still holds that record. Very impressive from Grimaldo. After a 4-year spell at Barcelona B, Grimaldo made 127 appearances in total. Over the time that he was there, he became the Barcelona B captain, a very well-liked player in their team, and he also chipped in with 10 goals and 15 assists in that time with Barcelona B. Very impressive for a left back, but unfortunately when Grimaldo felt like he'd done enough to really earn a first team spot, at least some opportunities, they were not forthcoming, and after a breakdown in relationship with Luis Enrique and the club itself, Grimaldo left for Benfica in 2016 for just €2 million. And since he's joined Benfica in Portugal, he really has showcased his talents at left back on a regular basis. 66 appearances in total for Benfica, winning the league twice, also winning the cup and the League Cup in his time in Liga NOS, and such performances have seen him linked this summer with the move to Napoli. €30 million was the reported price tag, but that one did not materialise. But at just 22 years old, very talented still, I feel it's only a matter of time before Grimaldo is going to make the next big move in his career. But where's he going to go? Up next is ALEN, a player who didn't technically come through the Barcelona youth setup at Barcelona, but he did join Barcelona B back in 2014, and when he did join, there was a lot of hype, a lot of expectation surrounding him following his very impressive time back in Croatia with Dinamo Zagreb. He was billed as the next big thing, and I myself actually remember when HALILOVIĆ signed, I was very excited to see what he could do. Even when I saw him play, I was excited by the different characteristics that he had. There was a lot of comparisons in his playing style and his look as well. well to Lionel Messi, but that always seems to be the curse, doesn't it? Anybody mentioned in the same sentence as the great Lionel Messi is always going to be up against it to live up to those expectations. Halilović made 58 appearances in total across his time at Barcelona B, and for sure, you know, watching him, there were some fantastic goals in there. He scored 8 goals in total and provided 2 assists. But after he made just only one solitary appearance for the Barcelona first team, which was in a Copa del Rey fixture back in 2015, Barcelona decided to loan Halilović to Sporting Gijón to gain some proper La Liga experience. And from here, it was all a bit strange, all a bit murky in Halilovic's career, because again, at Sporting Gijón, he had some very bright moments. He scored 5 goals and 5 assists in 37 games with Sporting, which is actually quite a decent return considering he was in a struggling team. They were battling relegation, but after this La Liga spell, just when you expected Halilović then to kick on in the next stage of his career and develop, he was then sold to Hamburg, which really took everybody by surprise. It wasn't exactly a high fee that Hamburg paid. It was a strange deal from Barcelona and also a strange destination for Halilović, who'd never ever played in Germany before, and he only made 7 appearances right throughout his time at Hamburg, with another loan move again back to Spain with Las Palmas, a struggling team again where he didn't exactly be as successful as he was at Sporting. And now, after his Hamburg contract expired this summer, he somehow ended up at AC Milan. So really right now, who knows what route Halilovic's career is going to take. The next player on the list is none other than Izak Cuenca, a player who broke through under Pep Guardiola and actually threatened to become a very, very promising talent, but a combination of injuries and poor form has seen his career rather tail off, and very, very sadly as well, I have to say. He started his youth career with 2 different spells with Barcelona, firstly in 2002 to 2005, and then in 2009 to 2010. He did make 6 appearances with Barcelona B, but under Pep Guardiola, he was fast-tracked to the first team. Pep saw that potential, he put him in there. You know that Pep is never going to be afraid to do that with a young player, and he went on then to make 30 appearances for the Barcelona first team, scoring 4 times and creating 12 goals in total. But as with many young players breaking onto the scene with the Barcelona first team, the pressure is so difficult to handle. I think Cuenca struggled to consistently show that potential game in, game out. He did have injuries, particularly at the end of his Barcelona career in his final season and a half. He had some really bad knee injuries, which did basically end his progress at Barca. Since then, he's had a loan spell at Ajax in Holland, spells at Granada and Deportivo back in Spain, and also a year with Bursaspor in Turkey. And more recently, he actually spent some time in Israel with Hapoel Be'er Sheva. And sadly, even at just 27 years old, when he should really be in the prime of his career, enjoying his best years as a professional footballer, Izak Cuenca currently finds himself without a club, and that for me is really sad. On now to JEFFRÉN, along the same sort of page as Cuenca, another player who's struggled really since bursting onto the scene as a kid during the same sort of period as Cuenca. That is JEFFRÉN Suarez, and you'll all be familiar with the face and certainly the name, after JEFFRÉN, of course, was the man that really put the icing on the cake and scored our 5th goal in Guardiola's demolition of Mourinho's Real Madrid in that emphatic 5-0 win back in 2010. But sadly for JEFFRÉN, and I suppose for Barcelona really, it never really happened during his time there, and that goal was only one of 3 goals during his entire time with the Barcelona first team, where he did make 34 appearances in total. Since he left the club then in 2011, he firstly spent 3 years with Sporting Lisbon in Portugal after they signed him from us for €3.75 million, following though a largely unsuccessful time in Portugal, which saw a return of just 5 goals and 1 assist during 39 games. He returned to Spain with Valladolid for the 14-15 season, but again, it never really found his feet, so he decided to try something completely different and head to FC Eupen in Belgium, the club actually that we've recently signed Wage from. And it was in Belgium that he really did start to see some confidence once again, and he actually helped the club win promotion to the Belgian First Division. And incidentally, he now plays his football in Switzerland with the Grasshoppers, and despite making 30 appearances for the Spanish youth teams during the course of his career, he's also made 6 appearances for the Venezuela national team, where he made his debut in 2015. The penultimate player that we are going to discuss today is Mauro Icardi, before we do come on to the very intriguing BOJAN story. Icardi, though, is a player that did actually come through the Barcelona youth system. Some of you will know that, some of you may not. He arrived in La Masia when he was just 15 years old, and he developed there for 2.5 years before he left to join Sampdoria, where he really did launch his senior career in Serie A. And many times throughout his career, Icardi's been asked about his move away from Barca. What triggered it? Did he regret it? What sort of things did he feel now looking back on that? But he's always said it was the right decision decision to leave Barcelona when I did. He never got the chance to make his first team appearance for the Barcelona senior side, but last year he admitted basically that he didn't feel Barca's style suited him as a player, and he felt that Serie A would be a lot better fit for him as a player, as a striker, instead of in La Liga with Barcelona and our style of play. And if you look at how he's developed really in Italy, he's probably about right there. I think in Italy he's been very, very good. He joined Inter in 2013, and since joining Inter Milan, he really has turned into one of the most clinical finishers in world football. 182 appearances in total for Inter Milan, with a deadly return of 107 goals. But of course, he has played alongside Messi on the international scene. He's only appeared 4 times so far in his career for Argentina, and of course wasn't selected in Jorge Sampaoli's squad for the World Cup in Russia. But now guys, let's move on to what I feel is the most intriguing story out of all these players, and what is actually a very emotional one for the player himself. We move on to Bojan, and this for me is very, very interesting indeed, because this was a youngster really who had the world at his feet when he broke through at Barcelona. He broke record after record for youngest player, like we're going to come on to. He made Spanish appearances very early on, and he was given such a huge amount of exposure at such a young age, and sadly, as he's later admitted, that was his downfall. Since leaving Barcelona in 2011, Bojan has had unsuccessful spells in Italy with Roma and AC Milan. He's had loan spells at Ajax, Mainz and Alaves in Spain, and he's also had some time in the Premier League with Stoke City, where he did start to show just a few signs of all that quality that we know that Bojan has. He's now in the Championship, the second division in England with Stoke, and he's back playing on a regular basis. But I'd just like to explore now Bojan's complicated past, the way he dealt with the pressures or didn't deal with them as a young player, and how he really was a player with enormous potential that ultimately went unfulfilled. And quite simply, with Bojan, right from the very beginning, there was too much pressure on him far, far too soon in his career. He was expected to be the next big thing. He was expected to produce it almost immediately after breaking through on the Barcelona first team, and it was simply too big of a burden to carry. He simply could not do it. He first started out at La Masia when he was just 9 years old back in 1999, and it was actually rumoured that before he joined the Barcelona setup, he had scored over 900 goals in a number of youth teams before he was snapped up by the Barcelona academy. He then spent a year at Barcelona B before he joined up with the first team and made his debut in September 2007, and in doing so, he broke Messi's record as the youngest player ever to play for the Barcelona first team. When Bojan made his Barca first team debut, he was just 17 years old and 19 days, so just turned 17, and only 3 days later than that, he also broke the record for the youngest Barcelona player ever to feature in the Champions League. He came on against Lyon, coincidentally, for Lionel Messi, and just 1 month later, Bojan again continued breaking those kind of records. He became the club's youngest ever goal scorer, scoring away at Villarreal, and he really was tearing up the record book at this stage, which continued right throughout the season as he ended the campaign with 10 goals, breaking Real's record of most goals scored in a debut season for a youth player. But with the spotlight firmly on Bojan, it became more and more difficult for him to consistently deliver under that pressure, under the constant exposure from the media, the fans, players inside the stadium. They expected a lot from him, and it was very, very difficult to consistently do. And since then, he's done a lot of interviews where he really has opened up about his emotional battle in his time at Barcelona, and he's actually said that his early days at Barcelona, breaking through with that kind of pressure, actually left him with anxiety attacks, and obviously that kind of thing massively affected his performance on the pitch as the months went on, but also his life off the pitch as a person. He made 163 appearances in total for Barcelona, which is by no means a poor return, and also when you look at his goal record, 41 goals in those games and 17 assists. Again, very, very decent numbers, but I guess it's just that we expected so much more of Bojan. He could have been, and he maybe should have been, so much more, but it's a thing that we should all learn. It's a lesson that we should certainly all draw from. You've got to give these youngsters some space, you've got to give them some time, and you've got to remember really exactly how young these guys are when they're breaking through, when they're trying to make their name. It is a very, very difficult world that the football world is, and likewise, it is incredibly difficult. Even if you have the big talent that Bojan had, it's still very, very tough to make it to the very top of world football. The pressure the likes of Messi are under from a very young age, right up until now. You look at Messi, he still has enormous amount of pressure and expectations surrounding him, and it takes an absolutely huge personality to handle that week in, week out, and still find yourself performing at the very top level. Those who can do it are the top players for a reason, and they should be respected by everybody. But like I say, with those younger players, we've got to give them time, guys. We've got to give them space and look into the future. We have to do that with the current crop of young guys now that we have coming through the Barcelona system. So I really do hope that you have enjoyed this different kind of video today, guys. I really have enjoyed giving it to you, taking a trip down memory lane and looking into these players' careers, how it's developed for them, and the intriguing stories that go with these guys that were once in the colours of Barcelona. Leave me your thoughts down below, guys, and if you would like me to continue this video as a sort of series, please do let me know that in the comments down below. I'll be back very soon with more videos on a regular basis. I'll see you then, but until then, as always, Visca el Barça!